Hi and welcome to this very first episode of Daydream District Discovers. Daydream District Discovers is yet another new format that I'm introducing here in 2017 and which will come up here on a weekly basis starting from now. So what is this show about? Well, every week I'm going to discover something that is really relevant for us, for the Daydream community. That might be an app or a game, because I believe in a year's time there will be so many apps that I simply won't be able to review or walk through all of the apps as I do it right now. So I will discover the best apps and games for you on a weekly basis. But it doesn't have to be apps or games. It could also be an interesting accessory. It could be some hardware. It could be some mobile tracking device that lets you use room scale VR, for example, for Daydream. So we're not limited to apps and games, and I'm going to discover anything that is highly relevant for us as a Daydream community. So in this very first episode today, I will directly start with something that is not an app and that is not a game, but that's something completely different, even no hardware. It is something that I personally find extremely exciting, fascinating, and that I simply needed to show to you in this very first episode of Daydream District Discovers, and that I'm sure you will love as well. So, in this very first episode, Daydream District Discovers, Ready Player One. Ready Player One is the VR science fiction book that you simply have to read. No matter if you normally are not into reading, you simply have to go for this book and read it. We could actually already stop this whole video here, and I would simply tell you go and buy this book, and I know you, because you're watching this video, would love it. So why do I love this book so much, and why do I believe this is a groundbreaking book? Well, it paints a picture where VR is not only mainstream, but it has actually become the de facto reality for most of the humanity. So most of the humanity in their waking hours, they don't spend in the real reality, but they spend in a VR world called Oasis. It's the year 2044. The world is in deep crisis because there's not enough energy, and of course because of global warming, and the only escape that's left to humanity is the VR world called Oasis. Every single person has access to Oasis by glasses, of course, and by haptic gloves. And they would log into Oasis in all of their waking times and just log out to sleep and to eat. So in this Oasis, they would do everything. They would go to school there, they would find romance there, they would work there. Everything happens in Oasis. So basically, it's the daydream of the future. The fascinating thing is when you read this book, everything makes so much sense, and it feels like that is how VR is going to evolve until the year 2044. So let me tell you a bit more about the story of the book. As I mentioned, we are in the year 2044, and the creator of this Oasis VR system, a guy called James Halliday, has just died. James Halliday was a very eccentric person, and he didn't have any family members that he could hand down his empire and his fortune to. So he left a few clues after his death in a video, and he left clues within Oasis, like an Easter egg. And the person who would find this Easter egg would get all his fortune, and all the empire, the Oasis empire, would belong to that person. Now the main character is a guy called Wade. He's 18 years old, lives in a trailer park, and his own thing that keeps him happy is Oasis. So he goes on the hunt of this Easter egg, and this story follows Wade and his party of friends who try to find this Easter egg, and it is simply amazing. So at the end of this very first episode of Daydream District Discovers, I would like to read you a short part of the book where Wade, the main character, describes his VR rig. And this is a very special moment for Daydream District and for you, because how often does it happen that a guy with a heavy German accent reads a VR book to you on YouTube? The crown jewel in my rig was, of course, my customized Oasis console, the computer that powered my world. I built it myself, piece by piece, inside a modded mirror black Odinware Sphere chassis. It had a new overclocked processor that was so fast its cycle time bordered on precognition. And the internal hard drive had enough storage space to hold 3 digitized copies of everything in existence. I spent the majority of my time in my Shaptic Technologies HC5000 fully adjustable haptic chair. It was suspended by 2 jointed robotic arms anchored to my apartment's walls and ceiling. These arms could rotate the chair on all 4 axes, so when I was strapped into it, the unit could flip, spin or shake my body to create the sensation that I was falling, flying or sitting behind the wheel of a nuclear-powered rocket sled hurtling at Mach 2 through a canyon on the 4th moon of Altair 6. The chair worked in conjunction with my Shaptic boot suit, a full-body haptic feedback suit. It covered every inch of my body from the neck down and had discrete openings so I could relieve myself without removing the entire thing. The outside of the suit was covered with an elaborate exoskeleton, a network of artificial tendons and joints that could both sense and inhibit my movements. Built into the inside of the suit was a web-like network of miniature actuators that made contact with my skin every few centimeters. These could be activated in small or large groups for the purpose of tactile simulation, to make my skin feel things that weren't really there. They could convincingly simulate the sensation of a tap on the shoulder, a kick to the shin, or a gunshot in the chest. Built-in safety software prevented my rig from actually causing me any physical harm, so a simulated gunshot actually felt more like a weak punch. I had an identical backup suit hanging in the mosh wash cleaning unit in the corner of the room. These 2 haptic suits made up my entire wardrobe. My old street clothes were buried somewhere in the closet collecting dust. On my hands I wore a pair of state-of-the-art Okagami Idle Hands haptic data gloves. Special tactile feedback pads covered both palms, all allowing the gloves to create the illusion that I was touching objects and surfaces that didn't actually exist. My visor was a brand new pair of Dynatro RLR 78000 Rex specs featuring a top-of-the-line virtual retinal display. The visor drew the Oasis directly onto my retinas at the highest frame rate and resolution perceptible to the human eye. The real world looked washed out and blurry by comparison. The RLR 7800 was not yet available to the plebeian masses prototype, but I had an endorsement deal with Dynatro, so they sent me free gear. Yeah, so Ready Player One, you got to read this book to know about the future of VR. It's all written here, and I believe all of this will become true. It's so good. I hope you enjoyed this very first episode of Daydream District Discovers with Ready Player One. And this book, starting from now, is the Bible of this channel. If you like this new format, give it a thumbs up. And of course, if you haven't subscribed to Daydream District yet, do so now.